Russia's been doing a great job installing their agent as president, right? So, how do you see the whole uh, Trump story, that where he stands, and is there any connection at all with Russia of any sort? And how do you read all that? You must laugh, actually. I bet a lot of Russians laugh at that whole thing.
I'm laughing.
Well, I think it's serious. I mean, I I knew the KGB was good, but to actually get their own agent as president, that's impressive,
He's
boy.
not the only one. There are so many of them out there.
They
Marine
got
Le
me.
Pen
I'm a
is.
nobody, but I mean, they got me. I'm an obvious agent. No, anyway, just going on. Okay.
Yeah, as long as you actually do not believe their uh, lies, as long as you tell the truth, as long as you try to enlighten other people, right? As long as you try to correct the injustices, you are a Russian agent. I mean, let's be proud of that, that being honest, being truthful, not succumbing to the lies of that whole cabal and the deep state matrix, right? To globalist agenda, not being the sheeple. If that's what constitutes being the Kremlin agent, sure, no problem. Sign me up. Well, as far as how Russians feel about it, of course, they're very amused by this, extremely amused. But they say, sure, no problem. If if you want to, if you want to think that Trump is our agent, go right ahead. Well, Russians hacked apparently German elections and French elections, and what other elections they didn't hack,
Canadian,
right?
I'm sure. But
Canadian, I don't know, I didn't hear about Canadian, but of course Ukrainian, then this Macedonian, some other, oh yes, Montenegrin, which is Chernogoria. We call it Chernogoria, which is Black Mountain. Montenegro doesn't make any sense. And other elections. I'm sure there will be more accusations that Russians did this and that. Well, the UK is going crazy as usual. They calmed down a little lately, but they were going crazy too. That's nothing new there. Well, the long arm of Kremlin is everywhere, into everything. In reality, they're actually looking in the mirror. They're seeing their mirror image and saying, "Oh my gosh, that's not me. That's bad Kremlin. That's bad Russia looking from me from the mirror at me." In reality, they actually are portraying their own modus operandi, how they do things. They hack things. They listen to things. Remember all the NSA scandals? And now that they cannot hang on to power anymore, it's like slipping between their fingers. It's like sand. Oh my gosh, the sand is just escaping from me, right? Before they could hold on to it and they cannot understand what's happening. How come we cannot hold on to this power that used to be ours for the asking, that people were eating out of our hands, and now look at this. So they have to invent external enemies. In reality, Trump, of course, is not a Russian agent, but Trump, he entered the campaign knowing full well that this is what sold amongst those people that were his constituents. And that's why so many people liked him and voted for him, because in reality, Americans, I'll give it to Americans, many Americans are waking up sufficiently knowing that they've been fed lies, that they've been lied to and swindled for many, many years. They don't want this agenda anymore. They don't want their country to be used as this point man for NWO, for whatever it is that is happening out there, whatever substitute we might want to find for it, like deep state, dark state. I call it dark state. They don't want it anymore. So what are they to do? They voted Trump because he was the only one available who was capable of winning the election and who was out there, who was willing to take that job on. Nobody else was capable of winning election. Running against all that establishment. The thing is that Trump, though, he honestly thought that he could come in and he could mend relations with Russia. He could show what a big winner he is compared to the wuss that was Obama, the loser Obama, right? And he thought that he could do that. Now, an interesting thing that how Russians really did hack election, and I'm putting a big quote unquote here, was there was one moment when back in, I believe, 2016, even, it was like a year before elections, Putin once said that when asked who he would prefer as president, he said, I like Trump, but he corrected himself immediately by saying, but this is up to the American people. We don't interfere in your elections. And that put such a wind into the sails of Trump. It actually created such a momentum for the forces. Oh, Putin supports us. So those forces that wanted to create, implicate Trump and mire him in scandals and put him in that straitjacket I always talked about, these forces just took that one phrase and created a whole humongous big elephant out of this little tiny mouse. Okay, they created that, and they will keep blowing and blowing hot air into this humongous balloon, making it bigger and bigger for as long as Trump is in office. You remember, Paul, we discussed it when you interviewed me for webinar 1 on Trump. Is Trump will Trump survive his first term? We discussed it. I called it the straitjacket. They put Trump in a straitjacket. I predicted that. That was at the beginning of February, and Trump's term just started in the White House at that point. We were literally 1 week into his term when we recorded that interview. And what is happening? Exactly what I said, that he is in that straitjacket. He's in that narrow channel that they put him into, and he cannot really move left or right, backwards or forwards. He is forced to run in that very, very narrow channel. So he cannot do what he wanted to do, mend relations with Russia. He will try. It's not that he will not try, but I predicted back then in that Trump webinar that it's not going to be that much of a difference. It's not going to. I'm sorry. That was previous. That was Earthshift Report 16, I believe we did, not Trump webinar. I'm thinking another thing.
Mixing
but
them. It's okay.
Yes, but they were similar. I was predicting that stuff back then, and that's exactly how it happened. Frankly, I don't envy Trump. I think that it's going to be a horribly difficult presidency, and it's going to be drudgery. He will be up against all these lawsuits, investigations, a lot of stuff coming at him, constant attempts at an impeachment, constant fights. And he's a fighter. This is what he thrives on. This is how he's done it all his life. He's also a deal maker, so he'll be trying to make deals. He'll be trying to give up certain things, which he is already doing. Again, per predictions from previous webinar and Earthshift Report, he'll continue doing that. But as I previously said and predicted, I hardly see him in the White House, which is basically his family is refusing to move to the White House, right? His wife and child are not even there. He's hardly there. But also what happens is that he there is a percentage like of possibility there that he might be impeached before the end of his term, or they might let him to finish his term so that not to escalate the situation even further. I do not see him under no circumstance as I see him for the second term. He will not go for the second term. He will not be elected for the second term, no matter what happens, whether there will be impeachment or not. The danger is pretty serious that he might be impeached after 2-3 years in office. Not right now. Right now, it's not going to happen. After 2-3 years in office, no matter what he does, they will try to derail things unless he does what they want him to do. And that would be what he did in Qatar, in Saudi Arabia, and in Qatar, incidentally, as well. That they want him to do. He has to go to Saudi Arabia and, excuse my French, kiss ass, and get that humongous commitment from the Saudis to buy arms from the US for $110 billion. Only 12 billion of that are confirmed. The rest is, oh, maybe we'll buy this from you. But this is something that delays the day of reckoning for Trump. It actually buys them time. And this is actually a bribe to the military industrial complex, if you will. Oh, look, I brought you these huge contracts. You've got to like me. You cannot go after me. Other forces that are supporting that same complex, they will be saying, well, maybe he is after our guy after all. Remember, after he started bombing Syria, he bombed once or twice, they suddenly said, oh, finally, he's becoming our president. And there is a wide understanding amongst people who are in the know that he actually had to show something to these circles that are trying to kill him in the crib, so to speak, kill his presidency in the crib. That look, I'm just like you. I can bomb Syrian army. It's like a bribe. Here, take more, take more. Here, stop growling at me, you bad dog. Basically, with deep state being the bad dog. Here is another bribe for you. Here's another one, and he will be forced to do this bribing of the establishment of the deep state, of neolibs, neocons, all these forces. He will be forced to do that all the time. Concessions, concessions, concessions. He may even think that he is making deals, but in fact, they are putting him very successfully in a straitjacket and keeping him there. And all these lawsuits, all these calls to testify, or this Comey situation, what is happening with his son-in-law. And again, he is accused of relations with Russia. Well, because that's a terrible thing to have a conversation with the Russian ambassador, God forbid, because you actually don't talk to an ambassador, right? He's supposed to be stonewalled. I mean, what is the ambassador's job? The ambassador's job is to make connections, to talk, to negotiate, right? He does it as a matter of course. That's his job description. So they're saying Russian ambassador is not supposed to meet with politicians and business people in the US.